this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous!
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening!
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Shut up.
Shut up!
Ah!
That's why State Farm is there, with car insurance for when things go wrong, but also here with car loans to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Marty Size or Michelle Rudolph in Albuquerque today.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a #1. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rawlins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
Smelling like a rose. Call to reserve.
My glasses, cleaning them up.
I'm just disappointed the cameras didn't come on 2 seconds earlier when you were picking your nose.
So, you know, the reason I was washing my glasses, I was looking at your apparel. I don't think I've ever seen you wear a Lobo apparel before.
There's a game tonight. I gotta work.
Do you wear Lobo? I mean, because I know they flash the screen to you every so often, but I don't ever recall seeing Lobo gear. Usually you're just wearing you're usually wearing the suit and tie. And
Well, yeah, that's not happening. But, yeah.
So I'm wondering, paper that it talked about, are you wearing this now? Because I've never seen it before. Because Greg Jackson's now training Lobo coaches, you can't ask tough questions there anymore. They could throw you in like a rear naked choke or something.
Well, let's be honest.
Okay.
The training is in its infancy. I'm pretty sure I could still take a coach if I needed to.
Which one? Well, okay, now I gotta ask. Now, which coach do you think you for surely could take? Or which one are you kind of nervous about?
I gotta be completely honest.
I do some.
Well, I'm asking you, I'm putting you on the spot then. Do you think if Bob Davey went off on you, you could take it?
Oh, I can take Bob.
You could take Bob?
You know what? I probably couldn't. In all honesty,
No?
I probably couldn't.
Why? Is it that square jaw that he has?
Yeah, I'm guessing you're not catching him with a left hook to the jaw and you drop it. And I'm guessing he takes that and looks at you like you really messed up now.
Really? Okay. All right, cool. I was just curious. Paul Weir?
I don't know. I've never...
He's a little shorter.
That doesn't mean anything.
I think you got some weight on him.
Well, yeah, I probably have some weight on it. That's probably a good observation, Leroy.
Yeah. What's the reach on that? Maybe we have to get Micah in here to do a tail of the tape of Lobo coaches.
Maybe.
Did they do tail of the tape on UFC fights? I mean...
Anything.
No?
No.
Okay, I'm just curious. I thought it was a pretty cool thing. I took a course with APD earlier, or late last year, and Greg Jackson was one of the speakers. It was with police officers, Albuquerque Police, and he was discussing how certain ways, mindfulness, and how to kind of get it together as situations, crisis, and those sort of things, how we can get mindful and not lose our minds, basically. Obviously, it's a little bit different, a basketball game than, you know, a situation with someone mentally ill.
It is, but it isn't. I mean, it's still the same thing. Instead of throwing punches, you still have to be cerebral and think about, you know, what you're doing and not overreacting to a situation. It's a little different because, yeah, if you make a mistake in that situation, you might get your butt kicked. If you make a mistake in a situation in a basketball game, you might lose the game. So there's
Well, yeah, now that Bobby Knight's not coaching anymore, you don't have to worry about a chair coming across or anything like that, right?
Well, it's not like...
Though Bobby Knight did have that chokehold on that kid.
Well, look, it's not like it was WWE. Bobby Knight never picked up the chair and hit somebody across the back with it or crowned him in the head. He just threw it across the floor.
Threw it across the floor.
Sure.
But he did choke the kid out, so maybe that's UFC. Do they still do they allow chokeholds in the UFC?
He really didn't choke the kid out, dude.
Well, he kind of did. He put his hand around his neck. I mean...
It's just like everything else you talk about. You have a general idea, and then you just make up everything.
Well, you got to do what you got to do.
Well, I guess.
What was the official... If you were doing play-by-play of the Bobby Knight...
I'd have to see it, dude.
Oh, okay. All right.
You really think if Bobby Knight was trying to choke a guy out, that he couldn't have choked him out?
Probably not. He was kind of a BA guy. He was badass. Yeah. Bobby was cool. I like it. Just curious. Like I said, it was a cool thing. It's a neat article. I'm not sure that Greg Jackson's teaching them how to actually fight. I think it's more the mindfulness and trying to keep your head squared and straight. I will be honest, in that class, as Greg Jackson taught that, it was interesting. It was just an hour, but I mean, he answered questions and stuff, but also in just kind of showing how to focus pre-crisis situations and in crisis situations. And as he was discussing it, he said that he does that with all his fighters. Like he was talking about before they go into fights and stuff, that they literally practice this stuff constantly there at the, what do they call it, the factory, or what's that place called? The gym? The gym? Yeah, the academy, thank you. That they practice that on a regular basis, but that a lot of the pre-fight stuff, when they're in the lockers and stuff, that he tries to get them focusing on that. And also during the 2-minute breaks between rounds, same thing. He says a lot of time you'll see me looking and trying to get them to focus on the mindfulness situation rather than sit there and give them, hey, make sure you come across with the left and that sort of stuff.
Well, look, since Alden just dimmed the lights,
yeah,
we're obviously ready for the main event. So if you'd like, we could push out the desk, move the chairs, and you could show us all what you've learned and see how you deal in a crisis situation when someone wants to attack you, and you and I could just go at it.
Well, okay, so like I failed that part of the.
Oh no! All of a sudden, this is such a good idea to talk about fighting.
I'm not. I have no problem. WWE. In fact, you said that you would do it, but then you've changed your mind. In the years that we've been doing this show, you said I would take a chair shot to the back.
Not for me.
Yeah.
You'd never get a chance to swing that chair at me.
Oh, I think I could. I don't know where it would go, but I think it could happen. Speaking of chair shots, I think, what was it, Nevada? Gave a chair shot to the University of New Mexico. I have to ask you, though, honestly, Michael, did anyone really think that the Lobos were going to go into Nevada and beat the Wolfpack there at home?
Probably not. And look, Nevada is ranked 6th in the country, but that's not even...
Did they drop to 7th, though?
No.
Oh, they didn't?
No. They're 7 in one poll, 6 in the other.
Okay, thank you.
Same as they were last week. It wasn't so much that they went to Nevada and lost.
Right.
It was they went to Nevada, had no spark, had no fire, had no energy, really didn't follow the game plan, and couldn't make a shot to save their life. It was kind of what the story of this season has been. No, I mean,
I agree with you.
When they play well, they're as good as any team in the conference. The problem is you've only seen little glimpses of that here and there. The one consistency that this team has had this year is being inconsistent, and that's what you've seen the majority of the time. And when they play that way, they're as bad as any team in the conference.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I guess going into the game, I had no hope that they were going to win. You were hoping that they were going to play well, but I think you really nailed it down when you talked about the inconsistency. Same issues. I mean, and that's what made. I'm trying to think. What was the game before that? San Diego State.
Yeah.
I think that, and we talked about that last week. What made that game so exciting to me is that it's not the wins and losses, because I think we talked they're going to lose some games, but it's the way that they won it. Is like they they fell behind by double digits but battled back. They did that a couple of times. And looking at I hate to sound cliche, the game inside the game, that's what got me excited. Once again, they kind of reverted back to, but did they revert back to the old Lobo team of this season with the no spark and missing the layups and all that because they just reverted back to that? Or is it Nevada just took it to them? I mean,
No,
I think there's a little of both, right?
Well, look, Nevada's a really good team.
Right.
Let's not forget that. No, their first 25 possessions, they were 2 of 18.
Yeah.
They absolutely reverted back to the Lobo team we've seen a big part of this season. And I think that's what's so frustrating for Lobo fans because you've seen enough glimpses to know what this team could
do.
be.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, more times than not, you see what they've been, and that's been drastically different and not nearly as good.
So you're working tonight.
Yeah.
San Jose State, right?
Yeah.
Comes to town. The Lobos are going to blow them out. Yeah, they're going to blow them out. That might be the worst team west of the Mississippi.
Well.
Yeah, at least in the Mountain West Conference, I would say they're the worst team. So they'll blow them out. Lobo fan get really high about this victory after getting really low about the Nevada loss? Or is it just kind of keep on the middle of the road, just relax?
Well, no, look, there is a middle of the road. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's Lobo Nation.
It's either highs or lows. The Lobos should beat them. They should beat them handily. I believe they're 16.5-point favorites. But I tell you what, if they come out and only make 2 of the first 18 shots and they turn the ball over 20 times and they can't guard anybody,
right,
it might be a long night.
Yeah, the talent at San Jose State and Nevada is kind of...
Well, I agree, but still, you make 2 of your first 18 and turn the ball over 20 times, you're not beating anybody. You're not beating me and you.
Right. Meanwhile, the girls, the women, lost at San Diego State.
Right.
They came back and won the other night.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of, why? Right now, it's kind of the only positive thing going for the University of New Mexico. Why can't they get into a national ranking situation?
Because if you look at the women's rankings, I now haven't looked at this week's, but I know last week, there was only one team from a non-power conference that was in the top 25, and that was Gonzaga.
Right.
But people talk about East Coast bias and all that. It's not an East Coast bias, but it's a power conference bias. And if you look at that, and the week before that, there were 2. BYU was in. But they fell out last week. So it's not so much of an East Coast bias or anything like that. It's you don't get votes unless you're in a power conference.
So and once again, I'm leaning on your expertise in this, which I don't know how much you have expertise in women's basketball.
I have expertise in everything.
Okay, all right, cool.
I guess.
So if they don't win the conference tournament, did they still get an at-large bid into the NCAA women's tournament?
I don't know. Maybe. I wouldn't pin my hopes on that.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't been in the top 25 all year long, but you said there's a bias, which is obvious. They've won some quality games. Their record's going to be great. I mean, no matter what. I mean, what did they lose? Maybe 1-2 more games? And that's including if in the tournament, if they were to lose in the tournament. So you lose 1 or 2 more games. Oh, there's my sound again. You lose 1 or 2 more games. You're still not going to be in the top 25 more than likely. I'm just curious if that affects and what that does to UNM. Does it matter for UNM Lobo basketball fans or not really? I mean, like I said, right now, who is the shining star there at South Campus? I mean, what sports program is there that you're getting excited about?
I think, look, certainly you want to be in the NCAA tournament. I think most Lobo fans are happy if the women are in the WNIT, to be perfectly honest. So I don't know. And looking at this week's rankings, there are 2 non-power teams. South Dakota's in at 25 this week.
Oh, there you go.
Gonzaga's 13.
So they just hate New Mexico then?
Well, no. It's,
Oh, they lost that last week, so maybe that had something to do with it.
They didn't get any votes this week, but mainly because of the lost Wednesday. But it's just more of it's a deal for power conferences. It's hard on the women's side for non-power conference teams to get recognized enough to garner enough votes.
I did want to ask you one thing, because I've been kicking this around in my head a little bit about the NIT and the University of New Mexico. At one time, and let's see, you were here, who was the coach at the men's team?
When I got here?
Yeah.
Richie.
Richie. Okay, so even before, well, even then, and Fraschilla and all that, Lobo fans used to complain a lot about the NIT, right? Lobo's another, what was the thing? Another NIT and the PIT, stuff like that. Nobody liked it. The way that, and then the rules changed, obviously, the way the NIT does it now. You know, they actually pick NIT. Do you see differences? And I'm looking at now, and gosh, I hope I'm explaining this properly. But do you see, like, speaking of power conference bias, power conference teams mostly get into the NCAA. Now you're starting to see that in the NIT as well, except obviously if they're conference champion of some of the non-Power 5 conference. Do you see that hurting or helping the non-Power 5 conferences now that the NIT is kind of inaccessible?
Well, it's not just an NIT thing. Look, college sports in general are geared toward the power conference.
Oh, yeah.
So let's not kid ourselves on that. And you are seeing more and more the power conference teams getting those NIT bids as well. You know, the ACC will get 6 or 7 NCAA teams, and then they might get 3 or 4 more NIT teams. But I mean, it may not be fair, it may not be right, and if you're a fan of the non-power conference team, it surely stinks. But college athletics is geared towards the power conference.
Yeah, and I'm talking New Mexico because, like, obviously when Neil was here, they went to they turned down the NIT. They said they would turn down the NIT. Now I don't think they were ever invited the whole time.
I don't think they turned down the NIT. I think it was the CBI or the.
Well, they turned that down too, but were they talking about that they were going to? Oh no, you're right. I'm sorry. The NIT didn't invite him, and they turned down the CBI. Thank you. Just right here to me on that. I'm wondering. Obviously, in past decades, they would have been a shoo-in for the NIT, and I wonder if Lobo fan, if they if the mentality is, because obviously attendance has dropped, the perception that UNM basketball is this great program, I think is kind of, except for the old timers, has kind of gone away. And I'm wondering if that NIT thing gave the Lobo fan the perception and continued to excite them for the next season. We don't see that. We haven't seen that for a while now. Where Lobo fans really excited for the next season.
Are you asking as men's basketball?
Yeah, I'm asking as a men's basketball fan.
By an NIT berth?
Well, yeah, I think at this point, yeah.
Maybe for 1 year, but after that, no.
Okay, all right. And I'm just wondering if that hurts at the gate. I wonder if that helps in because whenever the Lobos went to the NIT, yeah, people started complaining at the end, but they still had this feeling like we're right on the edge of greatness.
Right.
You know, we're right on the edge. And now it's just like, I don't think anyone's like, this team's right on the edge of greatness.
Well, they're not.
Well, right.
Not right now.
But not even on the edge of being good. I mean, you know, I'm looking at, look, they have a lot of talent this year. They haven't put it together. The chemistry is not there. We've discussed this all season long. I believe another year, you know, off season, get in the new players, really start working on it. I think they'll be better next year. I truly believe that. The talent is there. Get the chemistry there.
Here's the problem with that.
Yeah.
Pretty sure we all said the exact same thing at the end of last season.
Right, and I agree with you.
The talent's there, get the new players in, and it didn't work out.
Right.
For whatever reason, or at least up till now, it hasn't worked out. Now, maybe they can reel off a few wins. Theoretically, the schedule gets easier down the stretch, although you still got to go out and play well, or you're going to lose. But maybe you can get a little momentum and get hot again in the tournament and try to make a run like you did last year. The reality is we haven't seen a lot from this team so far this year to give you an indication that that's on the way or that's on the horizon or that they're starting to flick or they're starting to put it together. Because of it, you see moments, you know, the San Diego State game really well.
Yeah, they did.
On both sides of the ball. Unfortunately, you come back, and I get it, while Nevada's really good, but you came out with no effort and no spark in that game, and it looked like the 3 games before the San Diego State game, where they're not making their shots, they're not guarding well, and Nevada certainly took advantage of that. You know, I think we've seen more of that Lobo team this year, by far, than we have the Lobo team that beat Nevada earlier this year, that beat San Diego State, and has played well.
But as a fan, you have to hold on to something. You don't go, hey, guess what? We're going to suck next year, too.
No, for sure. And if you're a fan, you should still hold out hope that somehow they start to string together a couple of wins and can still get hot for the tournament. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but yeah, you should absolutely hope.
Well, I think they get better next year. I do think Paul Weir's a good coach.
I agree.
I think there is talent on this team. I think there will be more talent coming next year.
But they're not a talented team. They have talented players on the team.
Yeah.
They're not
As a team, they're
not a good team.
And I think I attribute this to the fact that they don't have a field general. They don't have someone on the court that can take over. I think McGee has shown glimpses of being able to do that, but I don't know if everyone buys into that. While Mathis is considered probably the scoring leader, I don't know if he's the team leader, like you said. I don't know. There's no guy. There's always been that guy. I think on most teams you go, that's the guy. That's the guy. He's going to take over. I think Mathis is an unbelievably great, talented player, but I don't know if he can create his own shot and lead this team the way a true point guard could. Just a thought. Anyway, let's take a quick break. We're going to come back with Micah Frankel of CageMinds.com, and then we'll come back and maybe we'll talk a little bit about UNM still or the state legislators still flirting with giving UNM $2 million, though it doesn't seem like UNM is really, they want the money, but they don't want to bring back the sports. We can talk about that. Also talk a little bit, maybe some NFL stuff coming up. Big trade for Bronco fans or coming possibly. I spent a weekend in Denver. It was interesting. We'll be back right after this.
Murphy gets his 800th win. Nice pass underneath, and
they don't have numbers. He's going to go all the way, and Villegas says, "Not tonight, baby. Get it out." Down in the corner. Reverse layup, up and in, good. Rebound. The drive, the layup, and it goes down and in by Ramos.
take over. Tapia is going to kick it out to Serrano for three. Yes! Pointed and done. Here it is. And look out. Showtime for Munn. Turn it over. And here comes Munn. And he'll put it down.
Coach Broussard won at the three. They counted as a two. At the buzzer, counted. Mercy. Serrano. How about it?
Watson grabs the rebound and a quick bounce pass. Alley-oop. Munn. Put it away. They got to get it in.
Oh,
And Monzano might have thrown it away. It was saved to Monzano. A kick out to Deathridge. He wants a three. Off the win.
At Gala Chevrolet, our master technicians service every make and model no matter where you purchase your vehicle. But that's not all. We also provide certified service on every GM model. So if your car's been acting a little funny lately or something just doesn't seem right, don't wait. Bring it in to the most modern service facility in the entire state and let us make sure that you're driving a vehicle you and your family can depend on. Service done right the first time, every time, right here at the all-new Gala Chevrolet.
Dreamstyle Remodeling has been wowing homeowners in New Mexico since 1989. Selected as Best Custom Home Remodeler for 3 consecutive years by readers of the Albuquerque Journal, we're also your exclusive provider for top home improvement brands like Renewal by Anderson, Four Seasons, Blaze King, and many others. Founded and headquartered in Albuquerque, Dreamstyle Remodeling is family-owned and now employs more than 500 people across the southwestern U.S. In fact, we've helped more than 60,000 homeowners improve their home in New Mexico, Arizona, California, Idaho, and West Texas. We're committed to providing a superior customer experience. We've earned 4.6 stars with hundreds of online reviews and have an A+ with the BBB. Dreamstyle Remodeling is a proud supporter of UNM Athletics. Visit our beautiful 10,000 square foot showroom at 1460 Renaissance Boulevard across from Sam's Club or dreamstyleremodeling.com to make your home remodeling dreams come true.
Motors, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at Proview Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
The Barley Room, a proud sponsor of Proview Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
This is Coach Borrego of the Charlotte Hornets. Hello to all you parents out there in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I want to congratulate 38 years for the AYBL. You guys are doing a great job. You've shaped a lot of lives, young men and women, and you'll continue to do that. Parents, get involved, sign your kid up. It's a great program. It helped shape who I am today, helped shape me as a basketball player, as a coach. So get out there, sign them up. Have a great season. Good luck to everybody.
Welcome to the place where we talk about people getting punched in the face. This is Caged Minds. I'm Micah Frankel. Got a lot to talk about today. First off, though, Alden, let's hit the highlights, get right to some action if we can. We're going to go to the boxing world. Golden Boy Promotions was on DAZN, and right here you're going to see Andrew Cancio versus Alberto Machado, and the body work paying dividends. Machado gets up. That's after 2 knockdowns. Cancio not letting him off the hook. The third one, there's the finish, and we have a new WBA Super Featherweight World Champion. Let's head over to Newcastle for Bellator. Fabian Edwards, big head kick on Lee Chadwick. Can't find the finish. Big takedown showing versatility. Some great elbows on the inside with the clinch. Edwards, a big debut victory. Chris Brumgardner here having Terry Brogier against the fence. He's able to shuck in behind, and here was the beginning of the end. Brumgardner able to take the back, force in the rear naked choke. Go to the co-main event. Aaron Chalmers, the reality sensation star from England, swinging big. Don't walk away. Didn't you learn that from Anderson Silva? Corey Browning, staying tough, gets the takedown. Amazingly, does not get the finish here in this ground and pound mat. Early in the third round, though, we start playing the leg lock game, and you're going to get hurt. You have to tap. Browning with the upset victory. We go to the main event. Patricky Pitbull, Ryan Scope. Pitbull coming out strong, vicious. That knockdown right there with the knee, switching up to the takedowns. Scope would make a big comeback, though, in this fight and have a dominant third round. In the end, though, the first 2 rounds, the decision victory for Pitbull. Go to Showtime Boxing. Gervonta Davis looking to defend his title. And here comes a crushing knockout. Talk about a delayed reaction. Let's check that out in slow motion and see how precise this right hand is from Gervonta Davis. Sneaking inside of the guard, crushing Ruiz. Still champion. Now let's go to Australia. UFC 234. We got some slow motion highlight here of destruction. A big debut victory right there. Here we go over to Ishihara versus Kang. A lot of wildness. Kang gets dropped, survives though, gets Ishihara to the ground, takes the back, sunk in that arm right there. Even if you're noticing, traps the left arm. No defending. Ishihara goes to sleep. Devontae Smith here in our feature prelim. Beautiful right hand. stays attacking, but stays composed. As you'll notice, he's still returning his hands high in a good defensive position. The knockdown, the ground and pound, and yes, all of these shots are legal. And next, we're going to go up to the main event and possibly enter the matrix for a moment. Israel Adesanya versus Anderson Silva. Not the most violent fight ever, but technical and visually spectacular. Adesanya, as expected, does get the victory, but Anderson Silva put on a performance that had a lot of us inspired by the strikes that he is able to avoid. This was a brilliant fight, but again, Adesanya gets the decision victory and adds to the allure, adds to the hype machine that is the style bender. Coming up this weekend, I want to remind you guys locally that it's the Santa Ana Star Center. You're going to have Fight to Win. Let's get to this week's other footage because the fights are starting tonight. We have Alaska FC 145. Jackson Wing fighter Tevin Dice is going to be on that card. We have Boxing Friday night on Fight Pass where you have Nico Hernandez versus Trejo Garcia. That's from Kansas City. That's on UFC Fight Pass. A couple Russian Olympians also going to be on that card. Friday night on Fight Pass also Invicta FC action from Kansas City. Brazilian Vanessa Porto battles Chicago's Pearl Gonzalez for the vacant Invicta FC flyweight title. Gonzalez 3-0 in Invicta. Porto has won 2 in a row. On Access TV, you have LFA 60, CageMinds.com. We have interviews with both sides of the main event as Clayton York and Julius Angelikas are going to be battling for the vacant LFA light heavyweight title. You also have boxing on ESPN where you have Rob Bryant versus Kashin Brazanava, a 12-rounder for the WBA regular middleweight title. Featured fights from Joshua Greer and Michaela Meyer also on that card. Paramount has Bellator. You have the first of the doubleheader in Connecticut on the weekend. Bellator 215, Matt Mitrione, Sergey Karatanov in the main event. Then Saturday morning on the One Super app, you have One Clash of Legends from Bangkok, Thailand. This is an MMA and Muay Thai card. The One Super Series featherweight title on the line in the main event. Saturday on DAZN, you have the second part of the Bellator doubleheader where Paul Daly and Michael Venom Page finally face off in a Bellator welterweight Grand Prix. Not to mention Vitaly Minakov, Czech Congo, a heavyweight #1 contender bout in the co-main event. More action on Fight Pass Saturday. You have Cage Warriors 101 from Liverpool, England. Heavyweight main event, Tom Asplund versus Sofin Boinchi. You have boxing from Roy Jones Jr. on Fight Pass. Connor Coyle 8-0 versus Travis Scott 19-4. Plus a couple top prospects, unbeaten Mark Mays, Armin Sands, Javon Barnes, Jasmine Ortega, and Antonio Tarver Jr. are also going to be on that card. Also on Fight Pass, CFC 72, Kyle Durkis and Jonathan Webb battling for the middleweight title. Sean Bradley and Taj Abdul Hakim for the welterweight belt. Sunday morning, Saturday night, Fight Pass, Pancrase Rebels Ring 1 from Japan. You also have boxing on Fox from LA on Saturday night. Carlos Lincona and DJ Carrillo for the IBF World Minimum Weight titles, the co-main event. Main event, Leo Santa Cruz versus Rafael Rivera, WBA super featherweight title on the line. And to top it all off, the weekend ends with the UFC, the main card debut on regular ESPN. Cain Velasquez, the long-awaited return of the former heavyweight champion, taking on the knockout artist, the phenomenon, Francis Ngannou, a lightweight co-main event where you have Paul Felder against James Vick. Don't forget that Jody Escobar from Jackson Winks is also on the card against former Invicta FC atomweight champion Jessica Penne. And as I said, locally this weekend, Santa Ana Star Center is the place to be where you can see Fight to Win 102, 40 grappling matches, gi and no gi, going to be happening for your entertainment. The following weekend, we're going to be up at Buffalo Thunder Resort and Casino for Jackson's MMA Series 27. That brings me to my guest this week, who's going to be in the main event of that show. We got Jerome, the Renegade Rivera, joining us once again. Jerome, thanks for being here, sir.
Thank you for having me, Micah.
So, been a while since we talked. First off, congratulations. I know that you welcomed in, since the last fight, a new bundle of joy. How does it feel to be a father?
It's definitely life-changing. Everybody always says that. I mean, like a really cliche thing to say, but I really am seeing things through a different point of view. And it's awesome being a dad and new motivation to train for, and just everything is different. Holidays are different. Life is different on a daily basis. It's been really awesome.
Well, we're here to talk about the fight. How has it changed your outlook on the MMA game?
I was talking with my coach Josh last night, and he's like, you know, the biggest thing this camp is you're a man now. So, like, you know, I'm not just going and collecting paychecks and just go and spend them on clothes or whatever I want after now. I go and get that paycheck, and it's for my family. You know, I got to put food on the table, got to pay all the bills, and, you know, the seriousness of this fight and everything has really made a difference, having a baby.
Last time we saw you in action, I went up to Colorado to see the fight in Vail. Unfortunately, your arm did not agree with the plan for the fight. What happened? What happened? Can you tell everybody what happened?
You know, it was just a freak accident. I'm taking it on the chin as a loss. Brandon did a good job catching my kick and running me to the fence. But it was just a bad series of events. You know, I had a few little lingering elbow injuries going into that fight. My elbows were kind of bothering me, but in there, it was just a freak accident. Brandon caught my kick, ran me back to the fence. I tripped as we were going back, and my fingers got caught in the fence. And immediately, once we hit that fence, I knew my arm was broken. But I tried taking a step away and hitting him with it to see how bad it was, and that's when I realized I was out of the fight. So really unfortunate, but a blessing in disguise at the same time.
Talk about recovery. Tell us how that process, what that process was like from the injury.
Recovery went great. I learned a lot about myself as a martial artist. I learned a lot about myself as a man. I mean, you can really fall into a depression after something like that. Like, there's a lot of people, they take an injury like that, and, you know, you can stop training, you might, you can gain weight, you could, I mean, they were trying to feed me a whole bunch of pain pills to recover my elbow. And, you know, I just told myself, like, I'm not going to let this break me. I'm going to become stronger from this. Just like when I lost to Roberto, I felt like that was my fight to win, my fight to lose. And I learned a lot from that loss, and same thing with this one. Like, I feel like Brandon was my fight to win, my fight to lose. Even though it was a freak accident, my head was out of the fight for 1 second. I threw a lazy kick, and I still am kicking myself for that. So, but no, recoveries went good. I hopped back into training and coaching by about July. So that was about a month and a half after surgery. And yeah, recovery went awesome. I was training a lot with one arm for a while. I'd get my jiu-jitsu gi, and I'd wrap my belt around my arm, and I would go and roll. And I wasn't going too crazy. Everyone was kind of freaking out. They're like, cut it out, don't roll with me, cut it out. And I'm like, no, you know, this is going to help me. Like, rolling with one arm for a while did help me. When I came back and I was able to use my second arm, I felt a lot better. When I was rolling with one arm, I had to change my game a little bit. I had to be more opportunistic, as to where before I was always kind of just putting a lot of pressure and being an athletic specimen, trying to make people tired. But now I really had to think and be technical and really fix a lot of holes in my game.
And the mental side of it, how were you able to get through those barriers? How were you able to not let the dislocated elbow that had happened in May last year not deter you?
Getting back to this point right now is like something I had to prove to myself. Like, I told myself, this injury is not going to break you. Like, we're going to get back in there. We were on a good, we were in a good flow. Mentally, I was feeling great. Physically, I was feeling great. That was the most prepared I'd ever been for a camp before, and I don't want to let that injury mess up my flow. You know, I just hopped right back into it, stayed in a good spot mentally, used it as a big, huge learning experience, and like I said, as a blessing in disguise too, because my girlfriend was 4 months pregnant at the time, so I got 5 months to hang out with her and the baby and help her while she was pregnant. And then since the baby's been born, I got, you know, my elbow is injured, so I had an excuse to be home and be lazy and relax a little bit. So I didn't do a whole lot of that, but yeah, it was
Yeah, because
nice.
you never sit still.
Yeah, I don't sit still a whole lot, but it was nice to have an excuse to be home and relax when I did want to.
And now the return to the cage, it's a big opportunity. It's a main event, and it's in the hometown. It's right there. It's at Buffalo Thunder. It's as close as we're going to get to Santa Fe.
Yep.
Buffalo Thunder's the hotbed for fights happening in the northern part of the state right there. So how excited are you for this opportunity, for that platform?
I am beyond excited right now. Like, it's almost like a dream come true. Like, you know, when you're a kid and you play basketball or whatever and you picture yourself hitting like the buzzer beater in front of everybody. Like, this was my thing as a kid, like going out and walking out in front of a crowd of all my friends, all my family, all the people I went to school with growing up, and being the main event, getting to go show everybody what I do, why I work so hard, all these techniques I learned. Like, this is truly a dream come true. I'm really excited for it, very blessed to be back so soon after the injury, and yeah, I'm taking this as the biggest fight of my career, getting to go show everybody what I could do in my hometown.
We've talked about the mental fortitude going past and through the injury. What kind of different mental challenge is this, preparing for that kind of environment, this kind of pressure that you are the headliners, the hometown? We were even talking before our show, kind of promoting it. It's been a lot on your shoulders during this camp.
Yeah, that's one thing, is it can definitely be a lot of pressure, and I feel like I've evolved a lot as a martial artist. Like, I'm a lot more mature now. Mentally, I'm a lot more relaxed and calm, as to where if I would have done this 2 years ago, I would have been really worried, like, okay, don't let this moment overwhelm you. But right now, I know that it's a big event. I know there's going to be a lot of pressure. I am going to be the main event, but at the same time, like, you know, I don't really feel that pressure, because I almost feel like, even though I'm going in with a better record, I almost feel like an underdog in a sense. Like, you know, I'm coming off of 2 losses. I'm coming off of an injury. We're going to be in my hometown, so there's a lot of pressure on me. I know Gene Pettis is coming in there. I've been in Gene Pettis' role before. He's coming to come and ruin my night. He wants to come, and he has no pressure on him. He wants to come put it on me, but Gene has more experience than me as a man, as a martial artist. He's older than I am. So I'm just kind of taking this like I'm the underdog, and I'm ready to go show everybody the old renegade and get back to my old winning ways.
Talking about Gene Pettis, if it's boxing, it's MMA, we're talking bare knuckle boxing. This dude will do it all. He loves to fight. He loves to throw down and scrap. What are you expecting out of this contest? How do you expect him to come out at you?
I know Gene is a striker, so I do expect Gene to come out with that good boxing. I think a lot of people think Gene is just going to run at you and throw overhands and hooks, to where, I mean, anyone's going to do that if you engage them, if you start throwing overhands and hooks, but I feel like he's a lot more composed than everybody thinks. I'm expecting him to, I mean, I look at it as, if I was Gene, how would I try and beat me? And I think Gene's strong point is going to be making me back up, landing overhands, landing body shots. And so I'm preparing for all that stuff. I'm going to be fighting lanky, and just do my best not to engage the brawl and be a good tactical lanky striker.
How do you look at this moment? How do you see this opportunity?
This is huge, you know. This is like almost like a make or break point for me, you could say, in my career. If I were to take another loss right now, that would definitely be something that'd be hard to come back from. And it would take a lot of buckling down and getting right back on the grind, but at the same time, anybody could have a bad night. I could go in there and lose again, you never know. But I'm ready to roll with the situation. I'm ready to get back in the win column. And, you know, I'm treating this like this is my last fight that I'm ever going to have in Santa Fe, because I want to go and fight Gene, and then after that, we're going straight for the top. You know, if it's going to be LFA's flyweight belt, if it's going to be UFC, if it's going to be ONE FC, if it's going to be Combate, you know, anywhere I'm at, I want their belt. If it's LFA, I want their belt. If it's UFC, I'm coming for their belt. If it's ONE FC, Demetrius Johnson, let's go. You know, that's my game plans after this fight, so that's where I'm at right now. If I lose, we'll go and reevaluate and learn from this loss and get better. But, you know, right now, the way I fight, losing isn't an option. I want my fight style to show that.
How would you describe your fight style for the people that haven't been able to see the last couple fights on Access TV? What should the fans on the 23rd be expecting from Jerome Rivera?
Tactical aggression. You know, I get really emotional before my fights. I get really aggressive. I like being right in people's face and taking it to them. In the past, though, I feel like maybe I get a little bit too aggressive or I get a little too emotional. But this upcoming weekend, a week and a half from now, I would say expect controlled aggression. And just overall, I'm different than a lot of people. You know, I throw a lot of different kicks, throw a lot of different punches, do a lot of switching stances. I can wrestle, I can do jiu-jitsu. So I want to go put everything on display and go show who the Renegade is to Santa Fe, New Mexico.
I'll tell you guys, there's no more of a gamer than Gene Perez. On paper, it's 8-10, I believe, the record versus 7-2, so it looks like a wash. It's not. Gene comes out to make everybody's night hard. He comes out to fight and bang. It's a can't-miss main event, the Jackson's MMA Series, February 23rd, up at Buffalo Thunder Resort and Casino. And we're going to have more Red Menace TV in just a moment.
Is this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous!
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening!
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Shut up.
Shut up!
Ah!
That's why State Farm is there, with car insurance for when things go wrong, but also here with car loans to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Marty Size or Michelle Rudolph in Albuquerque today.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rawlins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
At Gala Chevrolet, our master technicians service every make and model no matter where you purchase your vehicle. But that's not all. We also provide certified service on every GM model. So if your car's been acting a little funny lately or something just doesn't seem right, don't wait. Bring it into the most modern service facility in the entire state and let us make sure that you're driving a vehicle you and your family can depend on. Service done right the first time, every time, right here at the all-new Gala Chevrolet.
Dreamstyle Remodeling has been wowing homeowners in New Mexico since 1989. Selected as Best Custom Home Remodeler for 3 consecutive years by readers of the Albuquerque Journal, we're also your exclusive provider for top home improvement brands like Renewal by Anderson, Four Seasons, Blaze King, and many others. Founded and headquartered in Albuquerque, Dreamstyle Remodeling is family-owned and now employs more than 500 people across the southwestern U.S. In fact, we've helped more than 60,000 homeowners improve their home in New Mexico, Arizona, California, Idaho, and West Texas. We're committed to providing a superior customer experience. We've earned 4.6 stars with hundreds of online reviews and have an A+ with the BBB. Dreamstyle Remodeling is a proud supporter of UNM Athletics. Visit our beautiful 10,000 square foot showroom at 1460 Renaissance Boulevard across from Sam's Club or dreamstyleremodeling.com to make your home remodeling dreams come true.
Back on Red Menace TV, I told you I'm reading this. Is this This just came out, Senate Bill 536, or at least this is the first time I saw it.
No, say it didn't just come out.
Okay, State Senator John Arthur Smith introduced Senate Bill 536. It basically it includes $2 million appropriations for fiscal year 19 and 20. Before they were only talking about FY19, I believe, to bring back the sports that were cut. I'm curious, does that include gymnastics and all that from years gone by, or is it just
No,
for the
just the ones that are being
just the
cut,
3 recent ones that were cut?
Do you really think it includes gymnastics, Leroy?
Oh, I'm
Or are you
just
being an
asking. I
ass?
mean, how far are we going to go back with the cuts and the money? $2 million. I have to say this at least. If it's 2 years, at least that's a little bit. Maybe that's just all right. I can almost see that. But if it was a 1-year deal, then that would be not necessary. I still think UNM doesn't want the money and doesn't want the sports back.
That's probably very fair. I don't think UNM wants them. Look, they want more.
They
money,
want the money, but they don't want.
But they don't want the money to be forced to bring back those sports. UNM's ready to move on. They're trying to move on. That being said, if you're getting at least 2 years, I mean, at least you could see the potential future if it's a 2-year deal. If it's a 1-year deal, then we're just in this same spot next year. Yeah, and look, I hate to see the sports get cut, but UNM was in a situation where they had to make tough decisions. And, if the state's going to step up and make sure the money's there consistently, then bring the sports back. If not, if UNM doesn't feel comfortable with this, then they should stay the course and move forward without those sports. And, whatever happens, happens.
So here's my question. Does UNM bring back these sports and then cut some other ones?
No.
Well, why not?
What would they do? What would they cut?
Baseball? You can cut baseball.
You got brand new facilities.
Yeah, the whole thing of cutting soccer at the time was they were going to cut one or the other.
The state's trying to give them money for those sports. They're not
For
gonna
those
bring
3 sports.
Right.
But not the other sports.
Right.
It's just for those 3 sports.
But that's why they cut those sports, to have the money for other sports. And if the state
I
is
totally
willing
get
to
that, but
give
now
them-
you get that money back and then you cut some other sports that you didn't necessarily need.
Do you hear yourself?
Yeah, I absolutely do. It doesn't make sense to you?
No.
Okay. UNM cuts, when they made the cuts, when Eddie Nunez and President Stokes decided on the cuts, it came down to, of the men's sports, the 2 main sports, it was either baseball or soccer, right? The reason they chose soccer, well, like you said, they have new facilities in baseball. Ray Birmingham's been pretty good at getting money, at least to make it.
Sure. Also, baseball plays in the Mountain West. Soccer does not.
I'm just talking about the money.
Sure.
The reason that they gave
Okay.
at the end. Now the legislature is saying, well, we're going to give you money for those 3 sports only. If after we reinstate those sports and pay for those sports, all other money goes back into the general fund. It comes back, whatever they don't spend.
They'll spend it all.
Yeah, well, of course.
Let's not kid ourselves.
I'm just
They will spend
reading.
it all.
I'm just reading the way it looks. So why not just get that money and then cut some other sports? That way you get the best of both worlds.
Here's what I don't think you grasp. Well, or you do and just don't care.
I don't care, honestly.
Nobody really wants to cut sports. UNM didn't just decide. Eddie Nunez and President Stokes didn't just wake up one morning and said, you know what? Let's shake things up and cut some sports. They cut sports because they felt like they had to. Now, whether you agree with that or not, that's a completely separate matter. They did that because they felt like they had to. They didn't want to cut sports.
Oh, I'm with you.
If they decide to take assuming that the bills pass and they decide to take the money and bring back those sports, they're not going to turn around and cut other sports out of spite.
Well, it's not a spite thing. It's to still try to save the money that they were trying to save by cutting the sports that they cut.
But if they get $2 million a year for the next 2 years, they don't need to save that money they were trying to save by cutting.
Now, what was the number they were putting forth that they needed because they needed a new facility for the women's? Wasn't it like $7 million or something like that? Wasn't
it was like 800,000, 600,000, something like that for beach volleyball.
To get the beach volleyball, because they had to get their if they kept that sport due to Title IX, they had to do something.
Right, which by the way, here's the other thing UNM's dealing with. You bring those sports back, you still have the Title IX issues. Now, and this is where you're getting to. You can buy yourself some time by making improvements to a women's sports facility. That's the whole reason they added beach volleyball way back in the day in the first place. That in and of itself didn't get them Title IX compliant.
Right.
But they were able to show we're making the effort, and they got a 3 or 4 year grace period. So yeah, to do that again, yeah, you need 800,000, 600,000,
Okay.
something like that. I think
So-
is what they were looking for, which, by the way, would fit within the $2 million.
Okay, so your thoughts, I mean, as we're talking about, do you think that UNM wants this money or wants
No,
to bring these sports
I do
back?
not. I do
I mean,
not.
they seem like they're fighting it constantly, which is, obviously it sounds odd. No, we don't want your $2 million, but I think they're looking at it more long term than the legislature is. They're like, even 2 years is like, that's just 2 years.
Look, it's great right now that the state's willing to offer up more money, and part of that is because of the oil industry is doing so well in the state, and that's great. Don't get me wrong. What happens 3 or 4 years
Right.
from now if that's not the case? If things have changed, or the state decides to go in a different direction with how they're allocating money, you're still on the hook for these programs at that point. Yeah, UNM, I don't think wants this money. They don't want to bring these sports back. But if you're going to get a long-term commitment from the state for the money, and I'm not saying 2 years is a long term.
No, it's not.
But it's a start. Then maybe you do look at bringing them back.
I mean, look, if it's fully funded and they're willing to do that in, what's the word, perpetuity, fine, go for it, whatever, that's fine. But 1 or 2 years doesn't do anything. It just puts UNM, Lobo fans that care about this stuff, and everybody in this same situation in 2 years. Like you said, I think you
Possibly,
just said.
yeah.
No, it would. I mean, that's just the way it is. We just happen to have, like you said, the oil and gas money right now is huge for New Mexico.
And look, maybe in 2 years it still is.
Maybe.
And it's no problem, getting another 2 or 3 year commitment from the state. And if that's the case, that's great. But if it's not, yeah, you're right. Then you're in the same situation you were in last year when you had to make the decision to cut these sports.
Right, and hurting other people
Yeah.
and drawing other. Real quick, I want to talk to you about this because this is something that came up, and I was traveling from Denver this weekend. We got back yesterday, but I heard that Kareem Hunt, who had kicked the girl, his girlfriend, right? In
No,
that video?
no. It was an acquaintance.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
acquaintance. They cut him from the Chiefs, obviously, for which that's fine. But he signed with the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, this gets into more political thing. People say, well, what about Kaepernick, who's now 2 years out of the NFL?
Maybe 3 now.
Yeah,
Whatever it is.
and it's just like, I've always said that if you're a good player, a team will sign you. It doesn't matter what you have. I mean, Greg Hardy, Tim Tebow, Kareem Hunt, Greg
Okay.
Little.
Let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
If you're trying to make this a Kaepernick, Kareem
No,
Hunt
I'm just saying
comparison,
if you're good.
then you're comparing apples to cows.
Okay.
If you want to make this a Kareem Hunt, Greg Hardy comparison or Kareem Hunt, Ray Rice comparison, that's a lot more accurate. And I can explain that one to you really, really easy.
Do it.
Ray Rice didn't get signed because he was starting to decline,
Right.
and he was 30 years old or approaching it. Greg Hardy got a second chance with the Cowboys, didn't produce the way he once did, and nobody was interested in it anymore. Kareem Hunt's 23 years old and at least theoretically should be in the prime of his career for the next several years. That's why Kareem Hunt got signed. That's why those guys didn't. The Kaepernick thing is a totally different issue. I mean,
Not really.
Well, sure it is.
No, if he was good enough to be a starting NFL quarterback, he would have been signed. Doesn't matter. He would have been signed.
No, you may not realize this, but for instance, let's say I got tired of hearing all these goofy things you say on TV, so I decided to sue you. but then I said, Leroy, how about giving me a job, bud? Well, what would your response to that be?
Well, I'm not going to. It
Exactly.
depends on
You're
what
not
your
gonna give
talent
me-
level
right.
is. I'm talking NFL.
You're not going to give me a job if I'm suing you, and nor should you. Colin Kaepernick is suing the NFL. They're not going to give him a job.
They're not going to give him a job because he wasn't good enough. He wasn't even starting for the 49ers.
Yes, he was.
No,
He took the 49ers to the Super Bowl, Leroy.
Yeah, but the next year he was not starting.
He started his last year with the 49ers.
He started his last 2 games because their quarterback got hurt.
No, he started his last. No, Leroy, you don't know what you're talking about.
No.
They renegotiated his contract so that it would not be fully guaranteed for the following year if he got hurt. He absolutely played his final year.
No, he played. I didn't say he didn't play. He didn't start all the games.
He started the last 10.
No, he did not. There was
did.
times they had other starters because he wasn't doing well. Are we cut? Wow. Hey, we're over time. Sorry. For Michael Carlisle, I'm Leroy Lucero. We'll bring this up next week. God bless you all.
Can't wait.